One of the best ways to find out what those trigger phrases might be and to also best identify your best target market is to use this worksheet, which is in the handout section on the teamwork. I'll also provide it in an email. And it's to really rank your clients that you have. Now, this is the B2B version. I have the same form in a B2C version if you're in that kind of market. But really rank your clients. Some of these terminologies may not apply to you, but rank your client by annual revenue or the number of transactions per year. Find out what's profitable. And give them a referral rank number. The referral rank actually refers to what you might think. Do they send you other business? Do they speak highly of you? Do they refer others to you after you've done a good job for them? So we're going to use this data in a couple of ways, and I'm going to jump back over to the PowerPoint and talk about that. So ideally, in this spectrum here, we've got profitable, we obviously want clients that are more profitable versus less. And we want clients who are going to be likely to refer us to other people who know other maybe like-minded people. If we do a good job for them, and they know other people in similar industries or other people who would work well with us, we want to know about that. So once you've kind of evaluated your client base on the form that we were just using or showing you, we really want to find people that show up in this sort of sweet spot up here, right? They're the most profitable clients. They're also the clients who are most likely to refer business to us. And what we want to do from this, this is a slightly different way of determining your sweet spot or your target market, which is really understanding what are the common characteristics of your most profitable customers that also refer business to you. What do they have in common? What types of characteristics are they? They may be demographics, so maybe they're similar in business type, or maybe they're mostly women versus men, things like that. But dig a little bit deeper. So you may find, for example, when I did this in my business, one of the things that I found that I had really not understood before was that most of my clients are women business owners, which was not new information. But the other characteristic, or one of the other characteristics that they had in common, is that they are likely to be the public face of their company. Not only are they the owner of the company, they are sort of the person that's associated with their products and services the most. That's actually really key for me in the way that I market business and the way that I share that information and share information with them. So I want you to do this for your business so that you can understand. Now, if you don't have, you probably have a number of clients and maybe they've purchased all kinds of different things. Maybe your business has changed a little bit over time, and so some of the data may not feel as relevant. Or if you don't have an extensive amount of data, one of the other things that I would recommend that you do is do a survey of some current clients or some business peers that might be able to give you helpful feedback. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Okay, so I have on the screen now the Customer Insights Survey. If you don't have a lot of data that you can analyze from the past, or even if you do, I still think this is helpful. I did this as well, and I got some really great feedback from it. This is just a starting point with some questions for you, so feel free to add to this. But here are some great insights that you can do that might be helpful in pulling out some of those trigger phrases, some of the things that your customers will likely surprise you with and tell you about. Why did you choose this in the first place is a good place to start. It gets the customer opening up about why they made that purchase decision and how can you take that information and we'll put it into your marketing. Do you refer us? Yes or no? What could we do? Why would you stay with us? Here's one of the things I think super helpful in the bottom right corner, which is what phrase or phrases would you use to search for the products or solutions that we offer? Sometimes I've gotten people that gave me lots of good feedback. And in some cases, some people can get stuck with this, but it's really helpful to pay attention to the types of words and phrases that people use, right? We are in a digital age now. We're Googling everything, right? I have my phone in my hand, and every time, even a song comes on the radio and I want to know who sings that, or I'm listening to, I see something out the window, and we were just traveling recently and I saw something and I'm like, oh, I want to know more about that museum we just passed. So I'm looking it up online right there in my phone. That's what's happening all the time, right? People are just, and businesses if you're in the B2B market, which most of you probably are, believe me, business to business searches are happening just as frequently and just as prevalently. A small business owner, even larger companies, are seeing this as well. They're monitoring their traffic and learning that even large companies that sell very expensive, enterprise software solutions, or very expensive, costly pieces of medical equipment, or really, very industrial even type purchases, they're still being searched for and researched online, even in a business-to-business environment. So what phrases would you search for would be helpful? If you can, you might want to do this instead of sending this document. You might actually want to do this over the phone with people. I actually find getting them talking is helpful, and I can ask questions like, "Oh, really? Why would you say that?" Or why did you search for that? Or how did you find me? How when somebody referred them, I always ask, really, when they referred you to me, what did they say? And they'll be like, oh, well, they said that, you're really good. One of the pieces of feedback that I got that was surprising was that people said, yeah, so-and-so referred me to you and said that you were really helpful and that you were really easy to talk to, and they felt a lot more confident about some of their marketing, after they kind of got some feedback from you. So there was two kind of key things there, right? One, that people see me as sort of approachable and easy to talk to, which I think is good, but I think that's also something I can use in my marketing that can help differentiate me from other people. The second thing is the confidence piece, right? So in working with me, a number of people have reported that I make them feel better. I make them feel more confident about moving forward with their marketing plans. And that's not something I would have known. It's not really even something I would have been able to predict, but it is certainly something that's been helpful now when I'm putting together marketing information for my business. So what can we do, and how can we take this information? So I'm going to show you, I want you to really work on this, and if you can, try and talk to 3 or 4 customers. If you can't talk to customers, or you're new and you don't have a deep bench of people, talk to peers or people that will give you good, reliable information, and that will be honest with you about these kinds of things. If you have trouble or you need somebody, let me know. I will be happy to either put you in connection with somebody that can give you some good feedback, or do it for yourself, because this information is really invaluable. This is a market research information, and this data is really where we can find the best information about how people are searching for you, how they're connecting with you, and what they're looking to get from you. Those are the things we want to be able to speak to in a really compelling way. The end primary objectives today is to do a couple of things. One is to really understand your market, right? And understand them. I don't want to get as hung up on demographics. I know there's a lot of work and a lot of conversations out there about finding a niche or a niche, depending on how you pronounce that. Also, maybe coming up with demographics like, people in certain types of industries, or women between the ages of 25 and 45. And if you've got some of that data, that's great, but I'd really, just as compelling, and if you don't have that information, I don't want you to stress about it, because it's just as compelling as to understand how your market searches, number one, for the services that you offer. How do they search for that? And number two, how do they view what you offer, what your industry offers? The second thing that we really want to do, once we understand that, we can speak to it really well, and then we can do the second part, which is making our competition irrelevant or incomparable. So let's talk about how to do this. Again, these are 2 good duct tape examples, and then I have a third example that I personally worked on that I'll share as well. The change the context of how the world views your business. John in the Duct Tape Group talked about an architectural firm that he worked with. Just a small architect firm. They worked with a lot of contractors and remodelers that worked primarily in commercial construction, like office buildings and hospitals and things like that. And so they just were, again, marketing themselves as architects and then talking about their proficiencies and their capabilities and of course, having a portfolio of work that they'd done in the past. But they did this research and analysis. They really went out and talked to a number of companies that had hired this firm. Some of the companies have hired the firm a couple of times for different projects. And they asked them, why did you hire them? What would you say about them? What was the best part of working with them? Some of the questions I just showed you on the form before. And an interesting thing developed, and one of the reasons that they got hired, and this was repeated by more than one client, which was, we actually working with this architectural firm helps us as a contractor get paid faster. It helps us get our projects done sooner. And we like that. Obviously, it streamlines things for us. One of the biggest issues in the contractor world is downtime and waiting for permits and approvals and getting sign-offs, with whether it be the state or local city or different levels of approvals in a commercial construction space. And what they found out. Further, they continued to ask questions of the architectural firm, and they found out that a couple of their, the owners of the architectural firm had served on zoning boards and had served on commissions in this particular geographic area where they worked a lot. And so they were well known and they were well trusted. And so when a contractor would submit their plans for their work at various stages of a large project, I want to say rubber stamped probably isn't right, but they got approved fairly quickly. So they would look at the plans, they would see this architect's name on the plans, they would ask a few key questions, they'd review the plans like they were required to do, but they typically would approve them fairly quickly because they had an understanding of the architectural firm and their leadership, and they knew they did good work. And so the contractor then would get his approval faster, and he would get paid faster, and he could get his project finished and done and with fewer delays and fewer headaches. Which is a pretty big deal in that world. And all of a sudden now, right, it makes this this architectural firm, really their competition is very irrelevant, right? They probably don't even have to compete on price a whole lot because they're going to be able, they use this in their marketing extensively now that, we basically help you get paid faster. We're going to make this entire project go much more smoothly because our plans are going to be right the first time. They're going to get approved right off the bat. You're going to be able to start your project, complete your project, get everything finished, signed off on, and get paid, much more quickly than if you work with anybody else. So, which I think is a very powerful example. Another example is, again, a software company that has software that they market to very large universities that helps actually schedule classroom and classroom space. So, in the university level, when they're offering hundreds, if not thousands of classes to, tens of thousands of students at a time, they have to have pretty robust systems to go, we need, 20 students and an instructor in this class, and where's the free room, and where's a classroom size that's going to accommodate people in this course, so on and so forth. Apparently, this is a really big, complicated deal. I never really thought about it before, but it makes sense. And what happened is this software was so good and so easy to use and so intuitive for universities once they implemented it. Not only were they able to easily schedule class locations, class sizes, and get everybody where they needed to be in the right place and the right times, which is what the software has originally been marketed that way, right? It's all about sort of the logistics of planning and scheduling classroom time and space and so forth. But what they found out is they were actually seeing improved graduation rates because one of the single biggest issues, I guess, in people not graduating on time is not being able to get a required course at the right time when they need it, and having to wait a semester or a quarter, or having those kinds of things. And when they were able to use the scheduling software, and they became much more efficient at scheduling courses and course time based on student demand and student requirements, not only did the planning and the logistics part go really well, but their students were actually graduating faster. So now this software company, instead of calling up a university going, hey, we want to talk to you about your logistics and classroom management, which a lot of other people, I guess, are in this space, now they can call up and say, you know what, our logistics and classroom management is so great, it actually is going to improve your graduation rates, and you're going to see students graduating more quickly. You're going to see students actually staying on track in their coursework, which is a really big deal. And now, they're basically making their competition irrelevant, because they're telling a different story in essence. So I hope that example helps you. I'll give you one other very short example that I did with a client years ago. And I share this just because it's so easy to visualize. This was a friend who was had gotten her yoga instruction license and was trying to set up her own practice for teaching yoga. She had a real affinity for working with people who really had some chronic health issues and that sort of thing. And so she was trying a lot of things, and she taught classes at other people's studios, but she was really trying to separate herself a little differently. And through a series of connections, she did a class at a country club and a golf club, really, where there were lots of golfers, and they did this class. And she started branding kind of this yoga for golfers. And she started talking about, instead of talking about all the great health benefits of yoga, and there are many, right? We all know, like, it gives you more flexibility, and it can help with lower stress and blood pressure, and all of these other really great things about yoga. She started talking about, again, having more flexibility, being able to have a more consistent swing in your golf game, having longer drives, having a more consistent a drive, reducing the bad swings, which cause you to have a slice or a hook or whatever they call it in golf, right? Basically, she started saying, you know what, if you work with me in yoga and you start doing what I show you how to do, and I'll teach you how to do this, you can probably take 3 to 5 or 6 strokes off your game. Now she had some people's attention, right? She was separating herself from her industry, and she had lots of men and women who would normally not be interested in yoga coming to her going, oh my gosh, I gotta talk to you about this. I'm really into golf, or my son is into golf, or I've got somebody in my family who's super, kind of serious, or just amateur golfers who want to just golf better and beat their buddy when they go out on, Sunday mornings and golf. So those hopefully are good examples for you. Next week when we get together, we can review. If you have any questions about doing this for yourself, I know sometimes it's hard to have perspective of your own business, which is why I think talking to clients and to peers can be helpful. But if you feel stuck, I don't want you to get frustrated. Reach out to me and let's talk, and maybe let's walk through a little bit of this together if we need to, so that you can start really pinpointing, how to talk about your business in what I would almost call like your customer voice, right? And the way that the customer is going to talk about it. And we want to talk about how you can make your competition irrelevant, take them totally out of the game, because your messaging is going to be so different and so unique to the way that you solve your customers' problems. Okay, that's it for week 1. Thank you so much. Week 2, don't forget, we're going to be talking about the essentials that you need for your website. So we're going to take some of this messaging information, we're going to start sharing it, and I'm going to show you how to do that next week.